Well, good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here with you all. I see you all have arrived, and we'll just take a moment and let everyone get in the room. My friend Doodles, he's going to be taking his third nap of the day in the other room, so we're not going to wait for him. So a big thank you to Danny. Danny's been doing so much social media work. Danny, I was thinking about you today when I was going on a hike, and just want to say thank you from my heart to yours. Truly, it's been a big help, and it's been really nice, really helpful. So thank you, Danny. I thank you, everyone, for offering your donations and your support. It's greatly helpful. So thank you for that. And I thought I'd start today just by speaking a little bit about something I saw this morning. I got up, and my wife and daughter, they wanted to go hang out with a friend's house, and so they cut me loose for the day. And so I was just playing around doing some dishes, and I put on I just clicked on YouTube and put on a little Grateful Dead. And it was one of they've been releasing all these old videos from the past. So it was from like 1972 or something. And it was up in the state of Oregon somewhere, and they were going to put on a big show. And I saw all these guys and gals uh, just rushing, and they were building a stage, and they were all working together, and they were sawing boards like with hand saws. If you've ever sawed a board with a hand saw, it's a lot of work. And they were so happy. They were smiling. They were joyous. And they had this big rush. And they had with them, it was 1972, so they were still in the spirit of the 60s of, hey, let's work together, let's build something, let's build a stage for a silly thing called a concert. I don't know if we have concerts anymore, since the coronavirus, but it was beautiful. It's just all these people working together basically for art, for music. And it took my breath away for a moment. I was like, why am I having such an emotional reaction here to just all these guys and gals working together? And then I realized that, over the last couple of weeks, I've seen such division in the world, such fighting, among ourselves, especially here in the United States, just people at each other's throats. And, I did this drive the other night, and I do this thing every now and then, as I will listen to something that I normally would be just completely opposed to. So, I listen to Fox News Radio, and then I listen to Focus on the Family, which is like a Christian news group, and it's both of them, of course, are far right leaning. And basically, they're making this huge argument of the other guys are bad, the other guys. And of course, if you listen to far left radio, I don't even consider CNN far left. If you look at true far left, it's something like Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman, and they just, hate, just hate Trump's guts with the just utter passion. And whenever I check in with these sources and just kind of where America's at, I just feel so much pain in my heart, just at the fighting that we have with each other. On the show, Focus on the Family, they were just walking in circles around, they came up with some new term. Maybe it's an old term, I don't know. But they were trying not to acknowledge, people who are gay or homosexual. They came up with a term. It was something like same-sex singles living together. And I was like, what are they talking about? They kept saying it over and over again. And I was really confused. I was like, what are these people talking about? And then I realized, oh, they would not acknowledge. They wouldn't acknowledge, people who didn't have the same orientation that they had. And it was just heartbreaking for me to hear this. Heartbreaking. On Fox, they had Chris Christie on, who's, an American, a Republican. I believe he's a governor or something over in New York or New Jersey area. And they were asking him about, his idea, how he felt about, these ball players who'd walked off the field. I think it was, can't remember, it's the Mets or the Yankees. But the other day, they just refused to play. And, the reporter from Fox was saying, well, I can tell you what it is. It's deplorable. Now you tell me, Chris, what you think. And Chris disagreed. He said, I think it's all right. I think it's all right that they did that. There was one fellow on the team who felt really hurt by something that recently happened. And his teammates chose to walk off with him, in a stand of solidarity. And then right away, the Fox guy just went, he said, okay, we have to have a commercial break, and got Chris Christie off the air real quick, just pushed him out the door. So we're not going to hear anything that actually agrees or listens to the other side. And if it's one thing we need right now in our culture, it's the willingness to listen to each other, to hear what each other is saying. Now, I did stand in the street with one of my neighbors who's, always firing off his guns, and he has all kinds of things to say about, left-leaning people. And I listened to him for 45 minutes. And to be honest, I agreed with a lot of what he was saying. I didn't agree to the extreme that he was speaking, but I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to listen. When I was a kid, we didn't fight with each other in the United States. We hated the Russians. Those were the so-called bad guys. Pardon me, Tanya. But that's who, we were against. We were against the Russians when we were kids. At least it was a country that was somewhere far away. We didn't know them. But once we got to know the Russians, we realized, well, I kind of like these guys. These are good people. They're just like us, just on the other side of the planet. And it's just heartbreaking to see ourselves fight with each other. To label someone Democrat and they're bad, Republican and they're bad. We've created a hell world within our own country. Families are falling apart. Neighbors, won't speak to each other. And it's unnecessary. It's so utterly unnecessary to live in this way. To be awake is to see each other without labels. Without labels. Without judgment. So you see another human being, and you see someone who's divine and human. Divine and human. They're not this or that. They're not black, they're not white. They're not good, they're not bad. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat or Green Party or Libertarian or whatever else it is in the rest of the world. Liberal or conservative. They're humans. and they have a heart. They're a manifestation of God. And can we support each other in being this? Being this. Not prejudge them as good or bad, or I like them or don't like them. This is so toxic, what we're doing to each other. The left, the right, the up, the down, the this way, the that way. It's so utterly toxic, the way we treat each other. If our world is going to change, we have to see each other as divine and as human. And as human, can we listen to each other before we should try to shove our idea or opinion down their throat? Can we get to know them? Now, the guy who I spent 45 minutes talking to in the street, my wife, she refuses to talk to them because he has the big Trump flag flying from his truck. I said, I'll talk to anyone. And I'm happy to speak, to listen, to hold space for anyone, and to hear their views. And once you listen, and after they kind of let out their angst, because we all have angst right now, so let's not act like we're all saints, but once they let out their angst, you see, oh yeah, this person is suffering just like how I suffer or how I've suffered in the past. This person thinks they are right, just like how I think I'm right. This person thinks those people are bad, just like I think these other people are bad. And can we let go of this nonsense? And so this week's inquiry question, starts off with this question: are you kind? Are you kind? Now this is it's one of it's a song lyric from one of my favorite songs from the Grateful Dead. They have this lyric, are you kind? What I want to know is, are you kind? So you're going to ask yourself this question, like, how am I? How am I being? Am I kind? And it doesn't have to be as opposed to mean. Sometimes we're not kind because we're fearful. Now, I saw a fella riding down the road today on a motorcycle. He had a full face helmet, and he had his mask on underneath it, his coronavirus mask. And I drove by, and just with a quick egoic judgment, I'll confess here, I thought, boy, that guy must be in fear. Because it's really hard, if you put a full face helmet on, even to put glasses on, like to get them in a full face helmet, but to put a mask on inside a full face helmet, I have no idea how he even pulled that off. So my guess was he was in fear. Sometimes we can't be kind because we're in sadness, because we're in anger, because we're in hurt. And so when I ask this question, don't think, am I asking, are you kind, as opposed to mean? Like, where's your heart? What's your connection to your heart? You can be greatly sad, but if you experience your sadness with tenderness and you're gentle toward your sadness, you can say, yes, I'm kind. The first question is, are you kind? Just a way to check in, like, what's my relationship to kindness, to the vibrational frequency of kindness? So the second question, I ask it a little deeper. Are you kind to yourself? Do you speak kindly and sweetly to yourself? Do you speak kindly and sweetly to yourself? Or do you judge and attack yourself? blame yourself, criticize yourself, make yourself wrong? Are you kind to yourself? Boy, is that a wonderful thing to reflect upon. And then, of course, the next way I ask the question is to reflect on that outward. Are you kind to others? Are you kind to others? Do you judge them? Like I judged the fella riding down the street on a motorcycle with his coronavirus mask on inside his helmet. I judged him as fearful, just quickly. Do you judge people before you see them, before they open their mouth? Like when I was listening to these fellas speak on focus on the family, I didn't think they were bad. I didn't think they were wrong. I thought some of their views were wacky. I disagreed with, some of what they said. I absolutely agreed with their love for Jesus. I did not agree with their disgust for, homosexuals. I'm an inclusive guy. I think Jesus loved everyone. I think that's what his teaching was. They turned it around at some point to make it wrong to be gay, and that Jesus wouldn't have approved. I think Jesus approved of everyone. So Jesus, are you kind? Yes. Are you kind to yourself? Yes. Are you kind to others? Yes. So he can cross those off. And then, of course, the last question is, are you willing to listen? Because listening is the doorway to kindness. It's the doorway to kindness. Not listening, that's the doorway to judgment. And within our egoic survival mind, just through biology, we've been wired not really to listen, but just to make quick snap judgments. Now that keeps us very safe, if we are in a dangerous place. So my daughter and I, my older daughter, we went on a hike today in the mountains. It got really cold real quick. And I want to say it started snowing on us, but that's not fully honest. It started hailing on us, really hard. And we were hiking up Mullis Pass here in Colorado. And around the corner came this just running wild animal. My daughter, she made out, like a little jump and a sound, like, what, I said, what is it, sweetie? She said, I thought that was a bear cub coming running at us. But it was someone's dog, coming down the trail. It was just a big, fluffy dog. Because it was cloudy and it was hailing sideways and we couldn't see. All of a sudden, a running wild animals coming at us. Her biological mind did what it's supposed to do, is make a quick judgment to see if it's danger. But then with a second look, you see, oh no, it's just a big, fluffy, dirty dog. And it's not coming to eat us. It's wanting to get home, wanting to get out of the hail, get back to the car and be warm. And so are we willing to listen? Listen. To go slowly with each other. To listen to another's needs. To listen to what they have to say. Are we willing to let them unload first before we tell them our opinion? Kindness. It's hard to get in touch with kindness if you're not listening. You can be a do-gooder and not listen and just kind of, be in the habit of the habitual do-gooding, what you think is the right thing to do. But true kindness requires we listen first. We listen to how someone's suffering. We acknowledge them. We validate their pain. Sometimes we are too riled up inside to listen to another. And so we need to listen to ourselves first. If we are full, and I think that's one of the problems right now, in our country, in this world, is we are all so full. We have so much information that we've been flooded with, just so much, where our bodies aren't accustomed to having so much information. Our bodies for tens of thousands of years have spent most of our time in silence. And if you look at native cultures, Aboriginal cultures, first world cultures, First Nation cultures, they spend a lot of time in silence. Like, I live right on the edge of the Navajo reservation, and some of these folks just spend all their time in silence. And that's what our bodies are accustomed to. That's what our DNA is accustomed to. But in 2020, as we plug into all of our devices, we've just become flooded with information. Flooded with why I need to hate Trump, or why we need to hate the Democrats who are prolonging the pandemic, is what I heard a couple times this week. They're making it up so Trump doesn't get reelected. I thought, boy, that sounds like a crazy plan. I'm willing to listen to this. Just like I'm willing to listen to someone tell me about the flat earth. I'm like, wow, the flat earth, huh? Okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see where it goes. Like, can you let them unload a little bit? And then after they unload, you see it's just a human being. And maybe they're confused. Maybe you are confused. We've all certainly been confused before. And can we let go of the judgment and see the person before me? Can we see the life, the world before us? Can we see what's here and what needs to be attended to? But the last thing we need to do is be throwing rocks at each other. And so this old Grateful Dead video that I saw today, bunch of people working together. I said, look at that, working together. Just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. Can we work together? Can we get on the same team? The human team, and not be at each other's throats. And so anyways, I'm inviting questions from everyone. And I see Richard, again, is the only brave one. I feel like I say the same thing every week, but if anyone has a question, you're welcome to bring it forward. You can use the raise your hand button, or you can probably type a question in the chat. And I'm going to get it. Here's a question. Someone wrote, because I was talking about Doodles is in the other room taking his nap. Andrew says to Craig, which side is Doodles on? So Doodles is on team cuddle. So whoever wants to cuddle with Doodles, he's down. And Doodles, he's like the cutest little guy. And he doesn't care if you're a big, angry, mean looking pit bull. He'll go cuddle with you. He'll go cuddle with you. I was once, I went home to visit my mother in Ohio, and I brought Doodles with me. And out on the street, late at night. I was going for a walk. My wife and I, she was big and pregnant, and there was a I don't know what the right word is. I want to say rabid, but that might not be the right word. There's either a sick or a rabid raccoon in the street. And he was looking all crazy and squirrely. His eyes looked like he was going to pop out of his head. And boy, Doodles was just wagging his tail and wanted to go up and sniff and hug him and, say hi. My wife, she was quicker than me, but she was big and pregnant. She jumped in between Doodles and the rabid raccoon. Got Doodles out of there. Doodles is a lover. He's on team love is what team he's on. He doesn't play the political game. So thank you, Andrew, for the question. Here's one from Kyle. Hi, Craig. I often have difficult time staying motivated to do as many practical activities in life as most of my family and friends. Kyle, I'm right there with you. Doodles is the same way too. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't do dishes. He doesn't help out. The thing about him is he doesn't have opposable thumbs, so it's hard for him to really help out. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. So Kyle's having trouble being practical. For example, I felt my brain get really tired at the end of work this week and decided just to read about life of the Himalayan yogi instead. This could be a bit of apathy, but it also feels like I'm swimming in peacefulness and do not want this silence to be disturbed by too much busyness. Kyle, soak up the peace, my friend. Soak up the peace. I'm a big fan of letting go of practical activities and giving yourself permission to be tuned in to peace, tuned into love, tuned into kindness. Basically, you're speaking about stepping off the wheel of samsara. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about my wife's family. I hope this doesn't come back and haunt me in any way, but she has 6 brothers, and it's something crazy. And every time I go back to visit her family, she keeps introducing me to a new brother. And I'm like, is this person really your brother, or is it a step brother, or brother somehow from doesn't even make sense. She has this big Hawaiian Chinese family, and they're all over the place. I don't even know how anyone's related, but someone's always getting married, having an engagement party, having this christening or this type of thing, or Hawaiian luau or whatever it is. And I don't participate. Occasionally, once a year, we'll go for a visit, but she gets called, every month to come back for one reason or another. And she gets to spend her whole life doing family stuff. Now, I can say with a smile in my life, I think I've been to 2 weddings, maybe 3, but I just don't go to this stuff. There's just a lot of things I don't honor. When there's rules about you have to do this and you have to do that, I don't always follow it. And I'm absolutely fine with it. If I had a choice between going to someone's wedding and a meditation retreat, or maybe just hike in the woods, I'm probably going to go for the hike in the woods and to soak up the silence. So Kyle, enjoy the silence. Your heart is calling you. Now, you said the word apathy. So if you're spiritually bypassing that, I don't support. I'm going to encourage you to face life. But if your heart is calling you, saying, I want to go deeper, go deep. So much of life is mundane. If any of you I saw that movie from the 90s, Office Space. The guys work at Inatrode. It's just, I like to call it data tech. It's like, what do we do here? We make needs. The need is from the Lorax, things people need, but it's something you don't need. And you're filling out PT, what are they called? TP reports, PT reports, I can't remember, from Office Space. It's like, did you get the memo? I didn't get the memo. I didn't read the memo. Like, we don't want our lives to be just some mundane thing where we're just doing practical activities all day. Follow the truth, Kyle. Follow the truth. Of course, if you have children or things that, if you have a little doodles you need to take care of, take good care of them. But follow the truth. You don't have to play the games of life. There's some rules we have to follow, but most of them are just formalities. Formalities. Follow what makes your heart light up. This is the way forward. Every great saint, sage, master, they didn't walk on the path as everyone else. They said, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to listen to my heart. They didn't avoid life. They dove deeply into life. But life that was in connection, in alignment with their spirit. Back when I was a high school teacher for a brief period of time, we had teacher meetings, and we had like 2 a week. And I think I went to 2 meetings in the whole year. I didn't want to listen to teachers argue politics with each other. It's a waste of my time. So you need to follow your truth, Kyle. Follow your truth. Richard, you have something for us?
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. All right. Let's talk about sex.
You're gonna get me in trouble with YouTube. The thing is there's all these words that I normally would say, but I don't say them. I try to avoid them.
Yeah, we gotta do like a
YouTube makes it
thing. Let's talk about the birds and the bees.
Yeah.
I'm actually more. And I'm not so interested in the birds and the bees. I am interested in the kind of sexual impulse or that evolutionary kind of drive.
Sure.
Psycho-spiritual integration and awakening. So I'm just curious, like just to give you an application real quick. I know these days when I see a person that I'm attracted to, I see them and then I feel that impulse and I'm like, oh, okay, here's that. And I can kind of feel that energy and sense it. And like, this is related to this person, but it's also not at all. And just kind of feeling into it more. And so I'm really curious because I don't hear this talked about too much. I would really love to hear from both your experience as well as, your experience with people on their awakening paths, as well as other teachers who are really far along in regards to like what happens with this evolutionary impulse. Those people who are particularly mature in regards to psycho-spiritual integration and awakening, how are they dealing with this impulse? Does it change? I know for some people it dries up. I've heard Moda Majuvan talk about that. So I'm just curious to have kind of an open conversation about that, hear what you have to say. Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so there was a lot there. I was thinking about something related earlier today that for my first, say, 12 years on the path, I would just read these books like Kyle's reading about any great saint. And they were normally a celibate saint. And so that was my worldview, was just like, I just wanted to be saintly. I wanted to be holy like them. I wanted to be pure. But I realized I wasn't, at least according, to how it was written, all the saints, they're rarely are they written about their lives honestly. They're more written about mythically. And so we have this old idea in, religion and spirituality that, chastity is related to, if you want to be pure, if you want to get in touch with your essence, you have to be basically celibate. And, of course, every monastery and convent is basically based, and that's one of the tenets of those traditions. And so there's this huge influence upon us. So I had all kinds of ideas that, sex and sexuality was bad, was this bad thing, that attraction was bad, that desire was literally, like Satan, whispering in your ear. If you had desire, that, you could never be free. I was celibate for a couple of years when I was young. It was incredibly, I'm going to use this word, enlightening. And it helped me see what a strong impulse this is. I mean, you take a kid who's, I think I was 20 at the time. I was celibate for 2 years, maybe a little longer. And you see just how much of the behavior is habitual. And that was very good for me to see that how much of this behavior was habitual. Who I would sit next to, say, in class, who I wanted to go stand next to, who, where my eyes went. And I just saw it all day long. I said, my God, what is Craig? Am I just this animal machine, who's, just ready to get down to business, is one way of saying it, at any moment. Of course, I was young. And, I was kind of shocked at how much it was in, our consciousness, this drive to procreate. Now, I can say, a couple of things. Just with age, of course, desire tends to, for most everyone, decrease. And so when we talk about maturity, there's a natural thing that happens is just drive decreases. And the same is like, if you're a 7-year-old little boy, you're not thinking about it. If you're 14 or 16 or 18, you're thinking about it. If you're 24, 26, you're thinking about it. And so a lot of it has to just do with just purely age and biology. And again, if we go down to this question of well, who am I? Am I the programming of my age? Am I the programming of my biology? Or is there something else here? Something else. And that's a great question for all of us to sit with. And of course, this can do with any kind of programming. We could call it, if you're 74, you might have grumpy old man programming. Like sometimes my wife says, Craig, you have grumpy old man programming, but really it's just my father in me because I'm not that old. I'm not that old. Through the stages of awakening, I've gone through, so many cycles as I was, waking up. When I first stepped into the transcendent, I can remember I was divorced at the time. I had a young, beautiful girlfriend. And basically she said, what's the matter with you? Because it seemed like all drive just disappeared. I just felt like I was just peace. Just peace. Nothing else but peace. And it was confusing. I can remember even going to a number of different teachers and saying, where did this drive go? It's gone. Just like my politics, fell away. My righteousness, I used to be one of the rioters, but it just fell away. along with this, you know, evolutionary drive to recreate, procreate. But then later, as the Kundalini came online more fully, all of a sudden the drive increased very greatly. And I said, well, what is this? And it wasn't that the Kundalini made it increase. It was just the Kundalini was basically awakening in the root chakra. And it's just shining the light on what's down there. And so if the light of awareness shines on your, say, your first and second chakra, does that mean you should start acting like you're, an 18-year-old boy on Tinder again? I mean, I hope not. I hope not. But for some people that might be healing, but for me, I've always been, somewhat, not somewhat, fairly modest. Never had a one-night stand or done any of that kind of thing. The thing that you begin to realize too with sensitivity, as you become more awake, you tend to become more sensitive. You also tend to become more empathetic. And so you have to be very careful what you mix with. My teacher, I've had a number of teachers say this to me, when you sleep with someone, you mix karma. You step into their karma. The same is true just if you and I drove across country together, after a couple of hours, we're going to start mixing karma. You're going to start, merging into my world. I'm going to merge into your world. But sex is a quick way to merge into someone else's karma. Being in long-term relationship is a way to merge into someone's karma. Living with roommates is a way where you start merging into other people's karma. And so, but just sex in general, to me, sex, it's just dangerous. And, I was the guy who was celibate, and then 3 months after being celibate, all of a sudden I was having a baby with someone I didn't want to have a baby with. And then I was getting married to him. And so, I've made, great mistakes. And, but, on a more liberal end, like I'm fairly conservative in regards to sex and sexuality, but on a more liberal end, I know a lot of people who it's incredibly healing to explore their sexual nature, to explore their sexuality. And, that's a whole other thing. I mean, we could speak about that, but the thing I see a lot of people do is they play this game where they say, I'm exploring my shadow. And so then they, my sexual shadow, and then they have 12 different accounts on Tinder, or they're dating 12 different people at the same time. And to me, that just tends to create confusion. Now, I've sat for hours and hours and had clients and students try to convince me about polyamory and all this and that. I just sit back, I listen, I smile. I normally add my 2 cents in the beginning, which I say this is going to end in disaster. And then after 5 or 6 sessions, they come to me again and say, this ended in disaster. And so, I mean, the big thing is, I tend not to trust anyone in regards to sex and sexuality. And I even put myself in that category, my human self, because it's the strongest desire. It's the strongest desire there is. And the greatest masters on planet Earth, they've made absolute fools of themselves. I've made a repeated fool of myself, in that department. The messes I've made, the confusion I've made, the greatest pain I've caused, almost always was in this department. Just massive dramas. And, afterwards, I don't even know how this happened, but then I reflected and contemplated and realized, oh yeah, I know how this happened. I lied to myself. I lied to myself. I wasn't clear within myself. I let my drives get the best of me. And, so there's that. I mean, it's just a great way to cause immense pain, is just to get involved in multiple relationships at the same time. Now, that was never really my game. And so there was one more thought that jumped in there. Let me see if I can find it. So can it be healing? Yes. Can it be an exploration? Sure. Like I can explore eating cupcakes all day. But, if I keep it up, my teeth are going to rot, or I'm going to become, a big guy. It's just like, I'm going to get myself in some trouble. And keep in mind, I've gotten in plenty of trouble in this life. Can you learn? Sure. Can you heal? Sure. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. I'm a big fan of having, like, I'm in a long-term committed relationship, and just having a healthy life in that department. So I'm, just have a real healthy life in that department. I'm not completely abstinent, and I'm not, just be blunt here if we're talking about it, I'm not 10 times a day. I just keep it, right there somewhere in the middle. Chinese medicine and a lot of ancient Taoist teachings have come up with, some interesting mathematics, in regards to energy depletion, especially in males. And, just because we're talking about it, I'll see if I can say the numbers here. If you're 18, you could probably go 7 days a week and you have plenty of energy. You get into your 20s, 4 times a week, no big deal. You get into your 30s, 3 times a week. Get into your 40s, 2 to 3 times a week. And, if you start to go more than this, you tend to lose a lot of energy, tend to lose a lot of your spiritual stamina. You tend just to be exhausted. And so there's a power, there's a power in it. There's all kinds of yogic teachings about, holding on to your seed and this and that. And I could go on about Tantra and, retention of the seed, but it's not really my style to be teaching about all those things. The big thing that I encourage people to do is, find someone you love and share your life with them. Share your heart. If you want to grow, if you want to experience something wonderful, find someone you love and share your life with them. Share your life. The last thing I'd like to say about this topic is there's this whole, I don't know what the right word is. So there's this thing called a soul contract. And so soul contracts are who you are meant to be with. So there's just physical attraction, like, if I see a beautiful woman and I'm a healthy man, I'm going to have, a healthy sense of attraction toward her, just biologically. Now, if I have a soul contract with that woman, then I cannot stay away from her, and she cannot stay away from me. And that is ordained by God. Literally. Created by God, we were put in that contract by God. It's God's will. And so then we can't stay away. And we're going to learn something big karmically from each other. Whether our relationship is, I don't want to say one night, but if our relationship is 1 month, 9 months, 12 years. I'm not saying that all soul contracts end in marriage. Like with my first wife, I had a soul contract with her. I didn't know what it was about her. You know, I truly wasn't really interested in her. She was ridiculously interested in me. She pursued me. Something lit up inside. I knew from a place of mindfulness and clarity, I didn't want anything to do with this woman, but I just felt myself just being driven into her company. We had a wonderful child together. She already had a baby at the time. And so then I was a father of two. And you know, she brought me into this soul contract, you know, that was really intense for 14 years or so. And, you know, and since then I was able to leave the contract because my oldest daughter's 20 now, so I don't have to do much business with the former wife. But there's a soul contract. And see, that's what I look for. That's what I'm interested in is, you know, because, you know, attraction's one thing. But with a soul contract, there's true attraction, true desire, true connection. Basically, God says, hey, we're meant to do some business here. And it's not always, how should I say this? It's not always Romeo and Juliet. Just, maybe that's a terrible example, but it's not always wonderful business. Sometimes it's terrible business. But I look for that because I say, well, this is significant. This is significant. I've literally been on only one date in my life that did not turn into a long-term relationship because I always knew, you know, I saw something in another and I just listened to my heart. I said, there's something here. So that's how I followed that. I said, I want to see what this is. There's something here. I want to see what this is. And I like to go deep with people. I like to explore deeply. Say, what is this between you and I? What's this about? And so anyways, Richard, you asked me to comment on other teachers. I mean, I can say this. The safest teachers tend to be the ones that are married. You know? Teachers who aren't married, what are they doing in the bedroom? Or normally they're picking from their students. Or their students are picking from them. That's a whole other thing. Yeah, I've seen people do it really well. And, you know, people really drop the ball. Eli and Gangaji are one of my favorite couples. And, you know, even though Eli got himself in a little bit of trouble, you know, he confessed his sins, begged for forgiveness, and found a way, you know, the two of them found a way to deepen in love together. And see, to me, like, I have great respect for that. You know, I think Adya and Mukti, they're in a solid, long-term, committed relationship. My teacher, David, and his wife, Amalia, they're married and celibate. And so she was a nun and he was already celibate, but they chose to be married and be celibate. Like, that's a whole other way of doing it. And there's all kinds of different ways. I mean, what I look for is there drama going on? You know, that's normally with a sign of maturity, there's less drama. Now, you know, every now and then we're all human. We fall on our face. I fall on my face. You know, we make mistakes. We have a little bit of drama, whatever. That's human. If it's continual drama, then it's like, okay, that's trouble. That's trouble. But, you know, I've heard all kinds of funny stories that I can't repeat about teachers and their sex lives because I know so many teachers. But, you know, I don't want to judge. I just look at, you know, what is the teacher teaching? What are they doing? If they make a mistake, are they willing to heal and to do some work around this? And the other thing too is we don't always know what's going on in a relationship. Like sometimes I've worked with this issue with so many different couples. I used to do couples therapy, and some people are deeply wounded inside, sexually, and I mean physically wounded, and so they can't go through with the act. A lot of people are emotionally wounded. A lot of people have had sexual assault, and so there's periods of times when we cannot, join in that activity. But if they're in a long-term committed relationship and their partner reaches out, and because the other one's processing something for 5 years and things have dried up, is that bad? Is that wrong? Do we judge them? I think we just don't know. And I think it's not fair to place judgment on others unless you step into their shoes and see what's going on and their own relationship, and it's just a deeply intimate, personal thing. I think the big question is, are we living in integrity? Are we communicating clearly with our partner? Are we allowing space for them to heal, for us to heal? That's why I like long-term committed relationships. And even if a person does make big, foolish mistakes, myself included, can we hold the space of forgiveness for them and the possibility that maybe we don't understand what they're going through. But it's interesting. It's interesting to be human because, like when I walked into the house this evening after my big hike, Doodles, he came running up to me. He's whining and, wagging his tail. And he wants me to get down. And I will, of course, scratch his back, and pet him. And it's like, what is that? He's a mammal. Mammals like to be touched. They like to be held. They like to be cuddled. They like to receive warmth. They like to receive affection. And a part of being human is being mammal. Part of being human is being divine. It's a funny thing, it's a funny thing. I was with this great master, Tibetan master. I wish I could remember his name. It's Kempo Wang Duke, something like that. He's a celibate monk. And he said, having a girlfriend is like having your arms chopped off. Having a baby is like having your legs chopped off. I looked at him, I said, that is a crazy way to think about it. Having your arms and your legs chopped off. That's what they taught him in the monastery. And, my daughter, Ani, I was going to name her after Kempo because we loved Kempo so much. We thought she was going to be a boy, but she was a wild girl. We named her Ani after, that's a name for Tibetan nuns. They're normally, they call them Ani as their first name. Like all of them go by Ani. But anyways, so spirituality has so many crazy ideas about what I encourage people to look to is healthy psychology. Don't look to spirituality for this for this question. Look for healthy psychology, healthy, and not, just excuse me here, but I'm just going to say it, not New Age, San Francisco, Boulder cultural, polyamory, pseudo-spiritual, sexual, tantric, like not that, not that, which is grounded, solid, healthy psychology. And you said sex and you said maturity. And the clear sign is there's no drama or low drama, low drama. Now me, I was high drama because I had to learn a lot of things. I I had to learn a lot of things, and so sometimes we need to learn a lot of things. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, got some thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, good. Hope I can make some of you smile and entertain you a little bit. Okay, let's see here. John Garvey writes, Craig, it's TPS reports from Office Space. Yeah, TPS reports, that's right. Hi, Craig. I have a question about energetic blockages in Kundalini context. I have had an intense block for years that has prevented me from feeling much emotionally at all. I've seen multiple therapists, tried many practices, done much body work and yoga, etc. Nothing has helped. I can feel the energy constantly twisting around there. And I'm so tired of feeling like the living dead. My question is, might this just be a matter of time and letting the energy work itself out? Yes, that's a good possibility, John. Is there any block that Kundalini cannot eventually open? Oh, wow. Okay. So the way you asked that, the last part of that question, is there a block that Kundalini cannot eventually open? So what Kundalini wants from you, my friend, in regards to your blockages, is it wants your cooperation. And so say, for example, this, if I have great pain in my heart and my master tells me, Craig, say this mantra, Om Shri 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 Jaya Jaya or something, and it will clear your heart chakra. I can say there's probably a 50 or 70% chance that that mantra will not clear my heart chakra. So if there's heaviness in my heart, basically it comes down to I, the human I, need to learn how to forgive, learn how to love, learn how to be at peace with, learn how to accept, learn how to surrender. Yeah, one of those things. And then eventually the block will clear. Yeah. So it's not the Kundalini's light doesn't necessarily clear blockages. It just brings things into the light. What clears blockages is when you cooperate, when you grow and change. So I'm always curious when people say I've been to multiple therapists. And John, I fully agree with you. I'm just going to comment on other people. Maybe you have. So a lot of people come to me. They say I've done so much therapy work, and I say okay, and I be like, and for me, so much therapy work is, let's say I went to 3 years of therapy every single week. So let's call that 150 sessions. That's a lot of therapy for, say, a short period of time. A lot of therapy isn't, I went to 8 therapists for 2 sessions. Like, to me, that's not a lot of therapy. Therapy takes time. Healing takes time. Healing is messy. And so if you've done, say, 3 years and 150 sessions, I'll say, yeah, you've done a lot of therapy. I wonder what this is about. What are we missing here? And the question is was it a good therapist that you worked with? I know a lot of people who've met with a lot of mediocre therapists who didn't challenge them. I worked with anger that I had towards my father for 12, 14, 15 years. I did a lot of therapy around that. After 15 years, eventually it all cleared out, So there's a little bit of perspective. And yes, of course, there's a time thing. So sometimes things have a shelf life. Sometimes there's a karmic shelf life on things. Like, I had issues around money for the good part of 20 years. And I went and saw an astrologer, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you made it to through a 20-year cycle of, struggling with finances." And I was like, "Oh my God." I'd done so much therapy around that. And, it was just like you were saying, John, it was just a time thing. You, that's what it seemed like, just a time thing. But I'm sure karmically I needed to struggle with it because it taught me humility. It taught me humility. But boy, was that painful, sure. Um, but what I encourage you, John, is to always have hope, to never give up, and to always be willing to look at something from a different angle, a different perspective, try something new. I'm sure most people here have tried tapping. I can remember tapping came out. I started doing the tapping all over my face and this and that. Boy, I didn't notice anything. I didn't notice anything, but I gave it a try. I gave it a try. I felt that I've had a little bit of mundaneness in my life recently, just from overworking and being so busy. And so, I got on everyone's favorite YouTube and listened to some crazy Polish guy or Dutchman or wherever he's from tell me I need to take a cold shower every day. So now I'm on day 4 of cold showers, and I love it. I love it. It's helped awaken something within me, where I'd wake up in the morning and just have a general grogginess, or maybe a little bit of grumpiness about the coronavirus and the state of the world, or just too many heavy vibrations. And boy, does a cold shower help clear the air. Also makes you scream like a little girl, even if you're an old man like me. So, my daughter and my wife are like, "What's he screaming about in there?" And so I encourage you, don't give up hope. Just keep trying it. And don't have this idea that nothing has helped. So sometimes on the path, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, we just keep loading all these things on, and eventually, we have a breakthrough. And so don't think that therapy doesn't work, or body work doesn't work, or yoga doesn't work. It's possible that you need to do, years and years of this healing work, because you're teaching yourself how much you love you. A lot of people with chronic illness are learning this. They're learning, do I trust in my ego, which goes into despair and hopelessness? Or do I trust that I'm worthy of love from now till the end of time? And I'm so worthy, I'm going to spend my life savings on body work, chiropractics, healers, doctors, retreats, therapists, whatever it is. And sometimes it's about that. It's about you learning to love you deeply. But don't lose hope. Don't give up faith. If you keep opening to it, eventually, if it's a blockage, it will heal. It will heal. Okay. Here's something from Kathy. Beautiful timing, Craig, this talk. I found myself questioning Latinos for Trump interview and discussion this week on Instagram. Then I started a discussion with some Latina women for Trump, and overall, I've been fascinated completely by the two alternate realities that exist in one society. I ran across this link, just super interesting. Basically, it's a link she's sharing. Looks like a picture of Ronald Reagan in it, but we'll check that out later, Kathy. But yeah, I mean, it's, are we willing to listen to the other side and not throw rocks? Are we kind? Are we kind? Can we be willing to be kind? Can we be willing to listen, to love, to understand? My God, our world is suffering. And you know, November is, what is it, September now? 2 months away. It's going to get nasty. And so can we shine our hearts and shine love in all directions? Shine love in all directions to our brothers and sisters, fellow human beings on this path who are suffering. Can we shine love in all directions? That's my challenge to you. Can you let go of your politics and open up your heart and shine love? Shine love. I mean, politics is about change, right? And if we want real change to happen, how about we learn to listen? We learn to speak truthfully and honestly. How about we learn to communicate? We learn to de-escalate. We learn to love and be compassionate. These are the forces that create change in our world. So anyways, it's been a pleasure being here with all of you this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Richard, for the lively question. You know, that was good. I know I don't get too many views on YouTube anyway, but they don't like it when I say those terms. And so forgive me for dancing around the subject in the past. There's just my assistant, Suzanne, gave me a list of words I'm not allowed to say. So I said a lot of them tonight. But anyways, y'all take good care. So much love to each and every one of you. Thank you all for your support and your donations. Peace be with you all. Good night. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.